Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stamp It Up with Jaimie. If you're catching this video on replay, either on YouTube or on my blog, thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy to have you here with me tonight. If you have any questions, certainly let me know about any of the product that you see as I kind of show this card. I'd be happy to help you. And I'm just going to get my computer here up and running so I can follow along with comments. If you're on, say hi so I know I'm going and good. Oh, there we go. Hi, Connie. Good evening. It looks a little crooked, or is it me? Hold on. I'm just going to fuss with my camera a second. I apologize if this makes everybody dizzy. It looks like it's just a little crooked, and is that better? I'm not sure if that fixed it or made things worse. Anyways. Hi, Amy. Good evening. Hello, Karen. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight. I have a fun card for you. Hey, Barb from Tucson. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Okay. So, hello from North Carolina. That's better. Okay, good. I saw it on my computer here, and I'm like, it looks a little crooked. That would drive me nuts if I were you. I don't know if I made it worse or better. You'll have to, if I move it a little bit, hold on. Nope, that's too far. Move it back this way. How about, is that better? I think that's a little bit better. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I have a fun fold card for you today. I normally don't do fun folds. However, I had this card kind of, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I was laying in bed last night already kind of anticipating the tutorial today. And I had this card in my head, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. It uses a couple of different items, different products, which is really kind of fun. I normally don't mix bundles. I usually kind of keep sweets and bundles that are kind of meant for each other and designed. I try and keep them together. I'm not one that will usually mix a bunch of things. However, I'm really pleased with this one. Okay, so should I show you what the inside looks like? Because it is a fancy fold. I don't know if I call it a fancy fold. I like calling them a fun fold because some fancy folds are like really fancy and kind of intricate. So I like to just say these are fun folds. So they have a little bit of knot here. So you would undo that. And then that flap opens. And I have another tree on the inside. And then that's the inside of the card. So it's kind of, I don't know. I like to say a fun fold. That's what we're going to go with. It uses, let me show you, the Perfectly Plaid. That's such a tongue twister. Perfectly Plaid bundle, which is great. So if you know, this is a bundle that you can really whip out a lot of different Christmas cards. It comes with a punch. I'm trying not to get my face in the glare. Hi, Mom. And these are great if you have a bunch of different Christmas cards that you need to make and kind of assembly line them up. Bam, 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 get them out. Beautiful trees. I love this plaid tree. How cute is that one down here? These two stamp over one another and some great sentiments. And I was really inspired by my fun fold by this sentiment here. May this special season be wrapped in love and joy. So if you're familiar with me and how I stamp, I love punny sentiments. And I don't know if it's meant to be punny, but I took it as a pun. So wrapped in love and joy. So I kind of wrapped my card. Okay, maybe it's not too obvious, but I kind of thought that was kind of neat that I was wrapping my card. And that's the sentiment that I decided to use. Karen says, look at you go with the fancy fold card. I know. I don't do anything fancy. Fun fold is perfect. There you go. Fun seems like there's not too much pressure. When you call it a fancy fold, all of a sudden, like, the expectation's a little higher. So, this is the bundle. Again, if you buy it together with the bundle product number, you'll get the 10% off in a discount. And keep in mind that right now, today only, there is a special going on in with select stamps. There's a 15% off sale going on. And if your order is over $50 for today only, I'm throwing in a free $15 item of your choice. So you just have to use my current host code, which is on my blog, and that's going on today only. So if you're catching this video in the replay, you've missed it. But if you're watching live, it's still going until midnight tonight. So that's one of the bundles I've used, the Perfectly Plaid. My sentiment comes from the Itty Bitty Christmas. I used it last week. It's like my go-to Christmas sentiment stamp. And the bows that I have here let's see here, come from the Beautiful Bows dies, and they look like this. Lots of beautiful dies. There's a huge kind of bow, a medium one, and then the small one. I used the small and the medium. This is part of a bundle, but I just used it by itself tonight. So let's just get started. I want to show you my measurements because I'm not the best at sharing measurements. I know you probably noticed that. Love what you've created, and the wrap thing is great. I love puns too. I just love puns, Gunny. I'm such a sucker for them. I really am. So what you're going to do is take your 4 1/4 by 11 cardstock. Okay, so 4 1/4 by 11, and you're going to score it on one end 3 7/8. And then what I did is I just flipped it around, and then I scored it 1 5/8. And you're left with a 5 1/2 in the middle. Okay, that was how I did my scoring. And I went and did that on a piece of, I'm going to say crumb cake. That's not crumb cake. That's cherry cobbler cardstock. So I scored, the first one was at the 3 7/8. And then the smaller one over here is at that 1 5/8. So it's kind of like a window, but an uneven window, so to speak. Then on the left side of my card here, I did a little bit of layering using the Wrapped in Plaid DSP. Let me tell you, this paper, now mine's all, look how chopped that is, but look, it's just gorgeous. It is chock full of beautiful plaid patterns. We have Night of Navy, Shaded Spruce is the green, Cherry Cobbler is the red. Did I say Night of Navy? And then there's gold tones going throughout it. And that just makes it nice and shiny, has a nice little shine to it. So lots of beautiful plaids. For the card that I did in my sample, I used one pattern. And I thought for tonight, I would just switch it up a little bit and pick a different pattern. All using the same colors, the 3 colors, but just kind of a different pattern of plaid. So my Shaded Spruce here is, let's see here, 3 3/4 by 4 1/8. And then the Designer Series paper here is 3 5/8 by 4. So just 1/8 smaller, and that gets layered over one another. I chose a different DSP because I thought I wanted one that just shows the green just a little bit more, and this one does. So we'll see which one you end up liking more. And then that just all gets adhered over the left side of the card front. So keep in mind again that there's kind of 2 windows to your card, and that's just going over the left flap there. And it has a very slight, it's a tight layering. So if you kind of a hard time layering it over that tight, just give it a little bit more. You can make those a little bit smaller so that you have a little bit of extra wiggle room, so to speak. Now, one of those patterns from the Wrapped in Plaid Designer Series paper, one side looks like this, but the other side is full of trees. And what's beautiful about these trees is that it matches perfectly and lines up with our tree punch. So you're going to just slide it in your punch. It will have a little bit of a white wrap to it, white outline, so to speak. But man, if you need a whole bunch of cards, Christmas cards made, I would get this paper, I would get that punch, and you just can whip them out so quickly, so nicely. So it gives you that tree. Okay, so I also cut out ahead of time 2 circles out of gold foil. These come from the Stitched Shapes dies. That's another tongue twister. And this is the middle size. I have to say I use these all the time. All the time. These are such a go-to for me, and I love using them. So I've done that ahead of time. And I've already cut out 2 of the bows, and I already showed you they come from the Beautiful Bows dies. And I cut these out of Shaded Spruce cardstock. I did that ahead of time. You're also going to want a piece of ribbon. I'm using the Shaded Spruce with gold ribbon. This is beautiful. And I cut roughly about 17 inches. That's what I'm going to start with. I'll probably trim it down a little bit, but more or less that's how much you're going to want to start with. And so what I did let's see if I can replicate how I did this. No pressure. Is I kind of wrapped it around and kind of got an idea of like the halfway point for my ribbon. So like that's more or less halfway because my ribbon ends are equal. And I flipped it over and I want my ribbon to stay placed on the back. I don't want it shifting all over the place. So all I did is I lifted that back and I put adhesive along the back. Now you could use liquid glue, would be fine. You could use glue dots. However, for time's sake, I'm using a snail. And I find that it holds it. You could also use tear and tape would be fine. That would do the trick as well. Whoops. And then when you flip it over, I also want it to stay put here. So I'm going to do the same thing, open it up, and just put a little bit of snail, fold it over so it stays put. I don't want that moving around. As it is, it's going to move around enough like here. On this little panel, I really want it to stay put. Okay. And then next what we're going to do is go ahead and adhere down our bows. And quite honestly, the bows were kind of an afterthought. I'm not gonna lie. So when I was making my sample here, I actually just added them at the end. I just slipped them in, but I know I want them now, so I can go ahead and adhere them ahead of time. Should I use tear and tape? You know what? I think I'm gonna use tear and tape. Tear and tape really holds it down for good. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. So, being that I'm only adhering it down with such a kind of like a small part of the bows. Hi, Amy. No worries. I'm glad you're joining. Thanks so much. I think I'm going to use the tear and tape. And I kind of had it. See, because I did it afterwards, I knew exactly placement. You know what? I think I'm going to wait. Hold on. Yes. You know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to do this first. Hold on. Let's do my tree first, because then I'll know exactly where I want my bows to go. I'm afraid if I go ahead and glue my bows down, I'm going to realize afterwards that they were too high or too low or something. So I'm taking that one tree that I already cut out of that designer series paper, the wrapped in plaid, and I'm going to adhere it over my gold foil circle using dimensionals. So that way I can know exactly where I want my bows to go. And I think I'm going to put the tear and tape on the back of this as opposed to my card front. So let's see here if I can kind of eyeball it. I'm going to hold it and just kind of say, and you know what I liked about this? I don't know if you saw it, but one of the bows kind of like overlaps the front just a little bit, this guy. I liked how that kind of came out. So we're going to do that again. Like so. Let me get another little piece here and we'll use it for the bottom. Bottom would be over here. Peel it down. It's just like a sticker. So you put it down, peel it off. And this guy, hopefully he fits. If he hangs off a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, he'll hang off a little bit. No biggie. He should still fit in an envelope. And then I put Stampin' Dimensionals on this circle as well. And originally, well, it doesn't matter, I guess. But originally I didn't have a gold foil in the back. So you had to be careful where you're putting the dimensionals. But now I decided afterwards to add the back circle. So just put dimensionals everywhere. Okay, so eyeball it. Just don't catch. If your dimensionals are already peeled, whoops. If your dimensionals are already peeled, just don't push down. If that makes sense. I'm also going to put some snail on the back here to catch the back of my ribbon. And then I have another circle that I'm going to overlap my other circle. So that when you open the card, you don't see the back of it, so it looks pretty on the front and the back like that. So that when you open it, And then because I just didn't want a gold circle, I cut out another tree. I should have just cut them both out at the same time. That was kind of silly. I cut out another tree. It's just so easy. You can stamp all those trees that are in the stamp set, line up to the punch. But let me tell you, that designer series paper that has a tree is the fastest way to make trees. This one I did adhere using dimensionals just because it needs to it needs to lay flat against the inside of the card. Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Okay, so I love it with this pattern. It just has a little bit more green in it as opposed to the one that I made. That's the one I made. Okay, so I really hemmed and hawed over whether to put a sentiment on the front. And I decided at the end that I did want something on the front. Sometimes I get this far in card making and I'm like, I really love it just the way it is. And I don't really want to put a sentiment on it. But I figured it should have something. This is gorgeous. Hoping to make some in the style. Oh, good. I'm so glad you like it. What I like about this card is that using the Perfectly Plaid bundle is a really simple, you can make simple, elegant cards. But if you want to elevate it with like a fun fold, it just kind of brings it to a next step without a whole lot of additional work, quite honestly, or extra resources, because you're still using the same exact size card base that you would with your regular cards. It's just kind of making a little twist, a fun twist on it, so to speak. Okay, so I didn't show you this, but this is my card colors that I'm kind of going with. Cherry Cobbler, Shaded Spruce. A little late in the game, but if you didn't catch on, those are the colors I'm working with. And my sentiment, I'm actually going to use both. So you may not be able to tell. Where's my sample? I don't know if the light will catch it. But there's a little bit of shine to my Christmas cheer. And I'm going to show you how I did that. So my Christmas cheer comes from the Itty Bitty Christmas stamp set. I used it last week, and quite honestly, I use it all the time. It has great sentiments that are small. So the ones in the Perfectly Plaid are great, but they're kind of on the bigger side. And I just wanted something kind of small and dainty and just a little something without having a huge sentiment. And these, I think, are just perfect. They really are my go-to Christmas sentiments for cards this year. So I'm using the Christmas cheer. I thought it had a nice script to it. And I'm using this itty bitty piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is 3/8 wide, and we're going to see if I can stamp straight. If not, we'll do it again on a separate piece of paper and cut it. But we're going to test my skills. So what I'm going to do is I wanted a little bit of a glare, just a little bit, to my sentiment with the gold. So, oops, sorry. This is the Delicata Golden Glitz. And it's back in stock, so you can get it in, we sell gold, silver, and copper, as well as the refills. And you're going to ink up your sentiment and stamp off until it looks like there isn't a whole heck of a lot of ink on there still. That might have been, hold on, let me just stamp off twice. So 1, 2, I'm done with that. Then I'm going to take my Cherry Cobbler ink pad here, and I'm going to stamp it. Now you can say, oh, you got gold in your ink pad. I did. It's very little, and actually I stamped afterwards, and it doesn't come through. Hopefully this is straight. Hi, Linda. Good evening. Oh, thanks, Sandra. I'm so glad you like it. Okay, so I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but there is a very slight kind of shimmer to it. The gold comes through ever so slightly without being like in your face gold or in your face, like if I were to use gold cardstock or just the gold straight on. This, like the light literally has to catch it just right, and you get a little bit of a glimmer there. So I like that. And I just cut it. Did I? Yes. Just making sure I did what I'm saying I'm doing. The end in a banner. So I go up the middle and then give one. Whoops. It's hard when this paper, the cardstock is so tiny. Come on. There we go. Go one side, flip, and then catch the other side. Perfect. And it's so small. If you're worried about, you know, cutting it straight, you could use your trimmer, but I'm just going to aim for straight and cut it with my snips here. Oh, I wish the camera would catch it for you. It's really, really cool. I like it a lot. And I did adhere it down with a Stampin' Dimensional because why not? Why not? And I'm going to just use the outside because I just want like a little piece of it here. I did order mini dimensionals, but they haven't come yet. So for now, I'm still cutting up my regular size. I'm cutting them smaller. And I'm going to have it kind of off here, kind of hanging out. I used a dimensional because I feel like dimensionals are super permanent. I could have used tear and tape. I like the little lift that it gives. But really the only thing that's holding that sentiment down is that little piece right there. There's nothing else. This is all flapping in the wind. So I feel like the dimensionals are super, super permanent. Okay, so that's the outside. Our inside we have to do. I already did that one tree, and then we're going to stamp our sentiment. I'm trying to be very, very diligent. I've been pretty good actually about stamping the inside of my Christmas cards and not leaving it to the very end and then scrambling. And I just realized, whoops, I didn't get out the little pine cone. So the sentiment that I'm using is on the inside is the May this season, special season, be wrapped in love and joy. Again, I'm kind of making it a little punny. I love a good pun. In that I've kind of wrapped the card and now the sentiment includes the words wrapped. So I'm inking this up in Cherry Cobbler ink. Like so. Beautiful. And then just to add like a little something, and I thought they were super cute, I added some pine cones behind it in crumb cake. So we have this pine cone down here, which is very similar to kind of this style tree. And it's also a 2-step stamp. But then there's this one up here that's very similar to this tree, and that it's very, I think it's a distinctive. And it's also similar to the tree here. So like that tree and this tree are the same style tree, which is the same as the pine cone. And the pine cone I just stamped in crumb cake. Normally I would stamp off for an image behind a sentiment. Oop. Helps if I actually put a stamp on the block. Just saying. But the crumb cake is a pretty light color to begin with that I felt like it didn't need to be stamped off. So I did one this way and hopefully, yeah. Sometimes you can pick up the extra color and then one a little bit lower for an inside. It's kind of nice to, like I said, I normally don't include inside sentiments just because I really like to write a lot when I send cards. But because I send so many Christmas cards, it just takes the pressure off of having to write tons. Now, again, keep in mind that we have that 24-hour flash sale going on right now on select stamps. There's a 15% off sale going on, and with any order over $50, I'm giving away $15 in free product that you can choose. You place your order, then you let me know what you'd like, and I have it sent straight right to your house. So keep in mind that that's going on right now, today only. So if you're catching this on replay, it's over. Today, I don't even know what today's date is. Today the 23rd? It is the 23rd, so October 23rd. Okay, so we're pretty much done, but I want to show you like a tip when you tie it. You could have like cut this longer and tied a bow. I'm not a fan of a bow. I just can't cut a bow. I can't tie a bow right unless it's a fork bow, and I can't do a fork bow in this case. The other thing so what I found is if I do my knot kind of on the front, like let's say I do it there, this kind of stays flapping open, like it doesn't lay flat. In order to get it to stay really flat, like that, well, flatter, you almost have to tie your knot in the back. It will end up kind of falling forward, kind of coming forward, but you really have to almost treat it like you're tying a knot in the back. And the thing is, I also think that you could just tie one knot and it would probably hold well enough. But I wanted it a little bit more secure, so I did a double knot. So there's one, and then two. So I'm kind of like aiming for the back to the side. If I do it too much in the front, it just doesn't, I mean, it's not going to want to lay super flat anyways, but it will really be elevated. Okay, and so here's where I said that you're going to use more or less about 17 inches of ribbon because I don't want my tails this big. So I did give them a little bit of a haircut. Not too small, because if the person that you're sending it to wants to wrap it back up, they have to be able to tie the knot again. But you know, you don't necessarily want them, well, I didn't want them super long. So there we go. This ribbon is gorgeous with the gold kind of running through it. I love metallics for Christmas. I think it's so pretty. So there you go, everyone. You have to let me know what you think. And if you try this out, again, I normally don't do fun folds, but I think this is super easy, very manageable. You'll have to let me know if you try it out. So thank you everyone so much for watching. I will be back next week at the same place, same time. If you've been watching and haven't left a comment of some sort yet, do so if you'd like a chance to win tonight's card. At the very end here, as soon as I stop, I'll put all your names in a hat and then draw one of the names for someone to receive tonight's card. And I'd like everyone to have a chance. So thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'll catch you next week. Same time, same place. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye-bye everyone. Take care.